Yo, happy Easter, guys and girls. Just want to say first and foremost, very sad night of boxing last night. Obviously, Carl Frampton getting stopped in the 6th and as a result retiring. I wish him nothing for the best for himself and his family in the future. And what an absolute fantastic ambassador of the sport. He's had such a gleaming career. I was literally hoping and praying that he'd be able to go out and have that kind of fairy tale ending to his career, but unfortunately, boxing is a brutal sport, as it showed last night. If you think Carl Frampton was an absolute legend and should be inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame, give this video a massive thumbs up and maybe hit that subscribe button too. Anyway, what I want to do today is I want to show you a few real good tips, some awesome little bag work drills that can really help you. Boxing is the art of hitting and not getting hit. And one of the best ways you can do that is after landing punches to change that angle. By changing that angle, you're going to move around your opponent, meaning that they need to change their angle. And in that moment when they're moving around to change angle to set themselves to throw punches back, they're very vulnerable. Because if me and you are fighting here, and you're in front of me, you've just thrown a load of punches, you've moved around to here, you're now at the side of me, I can't hit you over there. So in the time that I am changing round and moving my feet in order to attack you, I'm vulnerable, but you can keep throwing punches at me. So here's a few real good tips and drills on effective ways that you can move around your opponent and keep yourself in a solid offensive position whilst opening up your opponent too. Anyway, let's get into it.
Put your hands together for Kieran! Lights out! Let's go!
So what I've done is I'll show you now, I put lines on the floor around the bag. So if you're struggling on cutting angles, you put these lines down so that you know that when you throw a shot, you want to move an angle, you've got an aim, like something to aim towards on the floor. So it's just easier to kind of target, focus and work around those angles. So I'll kind of show you what I mean now, and then I'll run through a couple of little drills that you can do at home if moving around your opponent is something that you really struggle with. But again, a couple of to be fair, majority of fighters nowadays do this so well, but when you look at the likes of like Lomachenko, who just literally dances around his opponents, things like that, little drills like this are so useful in order to help just wire it into your brain. So here you can see where the bag is, got a line parallel, almost like a clock, so you just split it into sections. And so when you throw a shot from there, you want to just change angle, move the shot from there, throw a shot from there, move around to there, moving around those angles. You don't want to move too much because then you're just wasting all of this space. But whenever you throw punches, obviously whatever you throw, and it's your opponent in front of you. So your opponent has an attack space. This is what I call the attack zone. So if you're standing here in my attack zone and you throw punches at me, I'm naturally, instinctively going to throw punches in this attack zone. So here, out towards the end of my fingers, you want to get out of here. So you want to throw your punches and you want to pivot around this side or step out this side. You just need to get out or step backwards. You just need to get outside of this zone here, because this is the danger area. And obviously, you throw the punches, like I said, I'm going to respond by throwing my punches to where you were. Even if I'm got my guard up and you've been throwing punches here, instinctively, I'm just going to go throw punches to where I think you are. And most of the time, it's going to be in front of me. So, when you throw your punches, you've got three options. Well, there's probably quite a few, but one of the three main things you can do. Obviously, throwing them, you can either step back, stepping out of obviously danger. You don't want to step back too far, you just want to step back far enough so you're not going to get punched, and that can literally just be an inch or two. The issue is if you then skip right the way back, if you've hit your opponent and you've hurt him, you've stung him, and he's got if you've jumped really far back, you're wasting time, you're increasing the amount of time that he has to recover from those punches. So rather than jumping right the way back, if you take a little just inch step off, if you were to throw something, you'll just miss it. And then if you have stung him, you can just get straight back on him and finish the job. And now, So secondly, from there, you've got your pivot. So you can just step your little front foot out a little bit and move round. Guard always has to stay up, always protect yourself outside. So just moving around, and all you're doing here, stepping onto the toes of the lead foot, kick the heel round, spin that back shoulder. And then finally is kind of the same. You can either pivot around this side, or I always prefer just to roll and step. And the main reason that you're rolling is you're just getting underneath the punches, because most people will tend to throw it to the head. So you're just minimising the risk of kind of walking onto any shots, because if he does come around with a big wild hook, you're just rolling, stepping under. So you're just kind of negating that fucking naughty haymaker that he's potentially throwing. So again, they're kind of the three beginner easiest options to do. Just a little step off, little pivot out to your left, little pivot out, little move off to the right. And again, I always prefer to step and roll. You can step and roll and pivot out here, but again, we'll go over that in another time. Now, how you use these lines. So again, this is just like a clock. So you've got obviously your 12 o'clock, you've got your 3 o'clock, you've got your 6 o'clock, just like that. And it's just quite a simple case of you throw to there, boom, you change that angle there. This is his attack zones. If I stand here, I'm gonna get hit. So I then will roll and step under, changing the angle. Now this is the biggest thing. The main reason that you want to change your angle on your opponent, and which is why it's always better than just stepping backwards, is because when you change angle, if your opponent steps to there, you have to turn, and whilst you're turning, you're vulnerable to get hit. And that's one of the biggest things. You're vulnerable, and as he's in a great offensive position. So I've stepped here, my opponent's hands are facing this way and his guard's facing this way. So I'm side onto him. I can throw essentially what I want, and he's just got to block and cover because he's not in a position to defend properly or offend properly. So he's not in an offensive position. So again, he has to change his angle in order to throw back. So that's why whenever you're boxing, you always want to move around. So whenever you're working the bag, always just get into the habit. Throw punches, move around. So you're always working around, changing those angles. So as you see here, little step, come around there. Step, pivot, move around there. And that's all it is as you're doing this. Step on, 1, 2, jump over. Step, boom, coming around. And that's what you're doing, just working your way around the clock. Just trying to stop yourself getting hit. But move to there. Boom, come right the way around. There. And again, you don't want to just always be doing huge movements because they're a bit slower, take a bit more time, and again you're then cutting off this little angle here, and you're cutting off this little angle here and this little angle here. So get out the habit of doing huge big movements. Don't get me wrong, there comes a time when you might want to do that, but at the same time, majority of the fight you're just going to be doing these small little movements. And so this is what I was saying about the pivot. When you pivot on your lead foot, you want to kick this heel round, come onto the toes and kick. A lot of people will make the mistake of pivoting their back foot and they leave this foot straight on here. But again, you've got no balance then because you're going to have to bring your foot round to balance. So the easiest and fastest way to do it is just kick that front heel round, boom. And then make sure when you land heavy on that back foot, on the toes on the back foot, so you can push off and drive that cross in. So pivot, pop, pivot, so you really want to pivot, land so you can bounce off this back foot. Don't land with your body weight on the front foot. One of the biggest mistakes that you'll see is people leaving their front foot straight but pivoting their body round. And again, it just means that you're off balance, and balance is everything in boxing, because if you don't have balance and you don't have your feet underneath you in a solid foundation, you're not in a position where you can throw an effective, hard, powerful punch, because your punches all come from your base, they all come from your feet and your hips, and that rotation driving the body weight into the punch, which creates that nice whip, which again, throwing your body weight into the punch is what means that when you do land, it's game over. Put these into play, give them a practice, and tell me how you get on with them. Honestly, these can be a huge difference between getting hit and not getting in a fight, which is everything. Those little angles will make such difference to your defensive as well as your offensive game. So whether you're an inside fighter, an outside fighter, like a more of like a pugilist, like a proper slick boxer, being able to work around the clock and work around your opponent just gives you so many more opportunities to pick holes in them and punish them. So yeah, let me know in the comments how you got on with those. But anyway, take it easy and hope you enjoyed it.